Good morning, students. Today, let me explain you the last part of this Coelenterata chapter. The topic is polymorphism in coelentrates. Dear students, you know that what is polymorphism is. So, it's a phenomenon of the expression of the different types of structurally and morphologically different individuals in a coelenterate, particularly in colonial coelenterate, to achieve the division of labor. In this first slide, you will be observing some examples of coelentrates which exhibit a higher degree of polymorphism. On the left top corner, you observe the presence of halystemma, which is a member of Siphonophora. And on the right hand side of that, you will be observing the physalia, and below that you will be observing the enlarged view of the halystemma itself. Now let us go through what is polymorphism. According to Greek terminology, poly means many and morph refers to form. So polymorphism is the occurrence of several different types of individuals or zooids in a single species during its life cycle or as members of the colony. The members perform different functions so that there is a division of labor amongst the members. Coelenterata are noted for their polymorphism, but the various types are reducible to either a polypoid or meadowside type. That means mostly they exhibit dimorphism, a type of polymorphism wherein they are having either polypoid or meadowside or both. The polyps and medusa occur in a number of morphological variations. However, polymorphism may be defined as the representation of a single organism by more than one kind of individuals or zooids which differ in their form and function. So this is the definition for polymorphism. Now let us go through patterns of polymorphism. Most hydrozoa exhibit dimorphism. There is a nutritive polyp or gastrozoid which is sessile. It has mouth, tentacles, and an enteron cavity for food. The second individual is a medusa, which is a jelly-like, saucer-shaped with tentacles on the margin. It is free-swimming and bears gonads. So it's very clear now that polyps are nutritive in function, whereas medusae are reproductive in function. So you can see the distribution of labor here. Then Alcyonaria have only polyps, but they are dimorphic. A nutritive and reproductive polyp called autozoid, which has tentacles, gonads, and mesenteries. The other polyp is a siphonozoid with no tentacles or gonads. It only maintains circulation of water in the canals of the colony. So, though it appears to have dimorphism, but it exhibits only polyps. Siphonophora show the highest degree of polymorphism in coelentrates, which is not found anywhere else in the animal kingdom. They may have 3 kinds of polypoid zooids and 4 kinds of meadowside zoids. The polypoid zooids are as follows. Number 1, gastrosoids. These are tubular or saccular with a mouth, and there may be one tentacle bearing nematocysts. They are used for digestion and ingestion of liquid food. Usually, a single long and contractile hollow tentacle arises from the base of the gastrozoid, which bears numerous fine lateral contractile branches called tentilla. The tentilla has knob or coil of nematocysts. Second type zooid, dactylozoids. These are for defense and obtaining food. They are tubular with no mouth but with a long tentacle armed with batteries of nematocysts. The modified dactylozoids associated with gonophores on gonozoids are termed as gonopalpons. The dactylozoids are also called palpons or feelers because they have a long tentacles with several batteries of nematocysts. The third type of zooid will be gonozoids. The gonozoids may be like gastrosoids or they may be branching blastostyles bearing clusters of degenerate male and female medusa which produce germ cells for reproduction. Mostly the gonozoids take the form of branched stalk called gonodendron having tufts of gonophores with gonopalpons. Coming to the Meadowside Zoids, the Meadowside Zoids are as follows. The first one being nematophore. Nematophore is a gas-filled vesicle or bladder which functions as a float and helps in swimming. The nematophore is an inverted medusoid devoid of mesoglea, but its walls are muscular and it has gas glands. It shows great variation in structure and size in different siphonophores, and the gas glands present inside this nematophore secretes a type of gas which helps in floating the nematophore. Coming to the second type, phyllosooids. Phyllosooids are leaf-like bracts or thick and gelatinous medusoids having a canal of the enteron. They are protective and shield some zooids of the colony. The third type will be nectocalices or nectophores. These are bell-shaped medusoids with a velum, radial canals and circular canal. They have no mouth, manubrium, tentacles or sense organs. So all these are absent. An ectocalyx is muscular and brings about locomotion of the colony by means of swimming. It is also referred to as nectophore or nectozooid. Coming to the fourth one, gonophores, which occur singly or in clusters on blastostyles, and they are degenerate medusa with no mouth, tentacles or sense organs. But they have a velum, canals and a manubrium which bears gonads. Gonophores are dioecious and produce germ cells for reproduction. Coming to origin of polymorphism. A number of theories are given to illustrate of polymorphism in coelenterate. Some of these theories are as follows. The first one being Polyorgan Theory. This theory was proposed by Huxley, Zoltz and Meshinkov. According to this theory, a polymorphic colony is supposed to be a single medusoid zooid. Its various components are regarded to be modified organs of this medusoid zooid. The various parts of the zooid are as follows, that is manubrium, tentacles, umbrella, etc. And they multiply independently from one another and they have assumed different forms to perform different functions. Some hydrozoan colonies are trimorphic. Besides the nutritive polyps and reproductive medusae, they also have modified polyps called gonozoids or blastostyles and often encloses chitinous gonotheca. They have no mouth or tentacles and they produce medusa or morphological equivalents by means of budding. So this is about polyorgan theory. Second one, Polyperson Theory. This theory was proposed by Leuchart, Ward and Jigenbauer. According to this theory, a polymorphic coelenterate is supposed to be colonial form in which various types of zooids have been aggregated to perform different functions. All the zooids of the colony are either polyps or medusa or both, but the primitive zooid of the colony is of polyp type. So this is about Polyperson theory. Third one, Haeckel, Balfour and Sedgwick, they have agreed that Polyperson theory is more correct, but they are of the view that the primitive zooid of the colony is probably medusoid but not polyp as it was mentioned in Polyperson theory, and that the primitive zooid of the colony is probably medusoid which have produced other medusae by asexual budding. Thus, the zooids of the colony are nothing more than the organs of medusiform zooid which have shifted their attachment. Recently, another scientist by name Moser has revived the polyorgan theory, and according to him, the various zooids of the colony are organs which have not yet attained the grade of polymorphic form. Thus, the siphonophores are the most primitive existing coelentrates, and this theory has not been recognized in general because it altogether denies the colonial nature of siphonophores. So, as far as the theories which we have discussed so far, polyorgan theory is said to be the accepted one throughout this world. Now, coming to polymorphism and alternation of generation. You know what is alternation of generation? It is nothing but metagenesis, wherein the sexual phase is alternated by asexual phase. Polymorphism is no doubt a phenomenon of division of labor, that is, different functions are attributed to different individuals of the polymorphic form rather than to the parts of the organs of one individual or zooid. All the members of the colony, whether polypoids or medusoids, are formed from the cenozoarch. Polymorphism is associated with the life cycles of coelenterata. In monomorphic forms like Hydra, the polyp reproduces both asexually and sexually, and this condition also applies to Anthozoa. The life cycle remains very simple. It may be represented as polyp, egg, polyp. The origin of polymorphism. The reproductive powers of the organisms are divided among the different zooids of the colony. In these cases, the polyps reproduce asexually to give rise to medusoid form, that is gonophores, which in turn reproduce sexually to form polyp. That is why the theory is called polyp-egg-polyp theory. The life cycle becomes complicated and may be represented as polyp, medusa, egg, planula, polyp. Therefore, the so-called alternation of generation or metagenesis comes into existence where, in fact, asexual polypoid generation alternates sexual medusoid generation. Now, coming to the last part, significance of polymorphism. The polymorphism is essentially a phenomenon of division of labor in which different functions are performed by the different members of the zooid of the colony. That is, polyps are related to feeding and asexual reproduction, while medusae are related to sexual reproduction and so. So this is the slide showing you the details of polymorphism in different members of that siphonophora. As you observe here, this is what halystemma diagram, where part of the halystemma colony, where you see gastrozoid here, and then there will be the presence of tentacles, and there will be the presence of bundles of nematocysts, and there will be the presence of other individuals too. And this is what Vellela diagram, wherein you can see a nematophore or the sailing crest, and below which you see the arrangement of tentaculozoids or dactylozoids here, where there will be a central large gastrozoid can also be seen, that is meant for nutrition. And on the right hand side of this, you observe the enlarged view of that gastrozoid and that of tentaculosis, and this is what physalia, where you can see the presence of sail or crest, or what is called as nematophore or float. And from the base of that nematophore, you see the hanging of gonozoids, larger dactylozoids, and then there will be the presence of gastrosoids in between. You will be also able to see a fish that is entangled between the clutches of these tentacles. So this is what the details of polymorphism in Physalia and other siphonophores. So this is what the another enlarged view of the different members of the order Siphonophora, wherein this diagram I have already shown you in the first slide, that is about halystemma. This is the one more diagram related to halystemma, where you can see a nematophore, sinusoidal stalk, swimming bell, bract, gastrozoid, gonozoid, tentacles, etc. So these are some of the pictures related to this polymorphism in coelentrates. So this is all in this today's class, students. Let us meet again in the next class with a new chapter, what is known as Hemichordata phylum. Thank you.